Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking an absolutely incredible underdog story from 1960s football. And, this isn't just about sports. It's literally a masterclass in systemic disruption. We're looking at the 1967 European Cup, where a seemingly outmatched, hyper-local team completely shattered a rigid, deeply established system, and in doing so, they basically changed history.
Now, to really understand how they pulled this off, we have to start with the man who orchestrated the whole shebang, the legendary Celtic manager Jock Stein. He had this famous quote, "If you're good enough, the referee doesn't matter." And right there, that wasn't just some catchy slogan. It was his entire core philosophy of total self-reliance and excellence. He basically demanded that his players focus only on what they could control, overriding any external obstacles, biases, or, systemic disadvantages.
Okay, let's dive into this. How on earth did a team of local Scottish lads break the absolute greatest defensive system in European football history? I mean, really think about that. This right here is the central conflict of the 1967 European Cup final. It's a clash that would fundamentally change how we view tactics, psychology, and the raw power of human agency when it's up against these rigid, almost algorithmic systems. To fully grasp the magnitude of this clash, you just have to look at the two sides. Picture this. On one side, you've got Inter Milan. They were the two-time European champions. They were the establishment. Their system, famously known as Catenaccio, was this expensive, ultra-defensive, and highly reactive machine. It was literally designed to just wait for you to make a mistake and then cynically punish it. And then on the exact opposite side, you have Celtic. They were the disruptors, attacking, pure, and relentlessly proactive. So Inter was the system, and Celtic was the anomaly.
And here is a fact that makes this anomaly just truly staggering. 30. Every single member of the Celtic team that took the field that day was born within a 30-mile radius of their home stadium, Celtic Park. Think about that for a second. In fact, actually, all but one of them were born within just a 10-mile radius. We are not talking about a collection of expensive international superstars bought to win a trophy here. No way.
These guys were working-class men straight from the shipyards, the coal mines, and the steelworks of Glasgow. What Stein did was he took these local Scottish lads and completely transformed their shared working-class roots into this unbreakable, totally non-algorithmic unit. They were playing for their own local community, and Stein used this deep, deep communal bond, their willingness to literally run until they dropped for the guy next to them, as a weapon that money simply couldn't buy.
Now, what's really interesting about this next concept is how we can define Stein's psychological approach. Let's call it the Stein principle. It's all about completely refusing to accept a rigid systems assessment of your own value. At the time, the general consensus was that Inter Milan's defensive football was the correct way to play, the only way. But Stein, he mentally decoupled his players from that status quo hierarchy. He straight up told them that their attacking communal style wasn't a weakness at all. It was actually a superior operating system.
Right before the match, Stein looked his players dead in the eye and told them, "You are better than them. Don't let them tell you otherwise." And this wasn't just some empty locker room flattery. He was using a highly forensic psychological process here. Step 1, filter out the noise of doubt by totally dismantling the myth of Italian invincibility. Step 2, empower player agency. He turned them from passive underdogs into active architects of their own destiny. And then, step 3, defy the algorithmic system with adaptive complexity. Because these players truly believed they were the better side, they were willing to take risks that a fearful team just never ever would.
But, as we all know, psychology alone doesn't win European Cups, right? So having completely decoupled his players from fear, the big question remained, how do you physically break an unbreakable defense out there on the actual pitch? Stein knew for a fact that to shatter Catenaccio, he needed a tactical revolution that perfectly matched his psychological one. And that's exactly what he did. Stein unleashed specific tactical weapons that the Italians simply could not compute. He demanded proactive, high-tempo passing and just relentless forward pressing. But honestly, his true masterstroke was the use of attacking fullbacks, like Tommy Gemmell. Back then, sending your defenders forward was basically viewed as tactical suicide. It was virtually unheard of. But Celtic used them to drag Inter's man-to-man markers completely out of position, which created these fatal, gaping holes in their supposedly rigid defensive wall. Let's move to the actual game and see how this all builds to a climax in Lisbon on May 25, 1967. So, Inter scores a penalty right away in the 7th minute. And this is exactly what a Catenaccio team wants.
They get an early lead, they retreat, and they just defend it to the death. But because of Stein's mental conditioning, Celtic didn't panic. Not even a little. They completely refused to accept the script. Instead, they laid relentless siege to the goal. In the 63rd minute, that attacking fullback we mentioned, Tommy Gemmell, blasts in the equalizer. And finally, in the 84th minute, Stevie Chalmers deflects home the winner. The unbreakable system was officially broken.
And this next number brilliantly illustrates just how thoroughly Celtic dismantled that system. 42. That is the staggering number of shots Celtic took against Inter's world-famous defense. 42. A French reporter actually dubbed this relentless wave of attacks l'orage, the storm. They didn't just scrape by with a lucky win. They mathematically overwhelmed the system with pure, inventive, absolutely beautiful football.
When the final whistle finally blew, the scenes were absolute chaos, but honestly in the most wonderfully human way possible. Fans flooded the pitch, absolutely desperate for souvenirs. You had people ripping up chunks of grass to take home and grow in pots on their windowsills back in Glasgow. And meanwhile, the players, they weren't posing for polished, sponsored photos. Nope, they were frantically searching for their false teeth, which they had actually safely hidden inside their goalkeeper Ronnie Simpson's cap before the match. It's just such a brilliantly humble and hilarious celebration for a truly monumental victory.
The broader footballing world immediately recognized the absolute magnitude of what Jock Stein had just achieved. The legendary Liverpool manager Bill Shankly walked right into the Celtic dressing room after the game and told him, "John, you're immortal now." And he was right. Stein had literally done the impossible. He won the European Cup with a Glasgow District XI, proving once and for all that proactive football and unwavering self-belief could absolutely defeat cynical, reactive systems.
But you see, Stein's immortal legacy didn't just stop in Lisbon. His methods completely laid the foundations for modern football management as we know it. He actually mentored a young Alex Ferguson, directly inspiring Ferguson to lead Aberdeen to that shocking victory over Real Madrid in 1983. And of course, to his legendary, unparalleled success later at Manchester United. Ferguson himself credited Stein with teaching him the deep psychology of management, the sheer value of working-class determination, and just how important a team's unyielding belief really is.
So the crucial point is this. How can you apply the Stein principle to disrupt the rigid systems and algorithmic thinking in your own industry today? Because let's face it, we are constantly being told our limitations by these massive data-driven narratives. But the Lisbon Lions proved that human agency, deep communal belief, and a total refusal to accept a system's assessment of your value can rewrite the rules entirely. So I'll leave you with this. Are you letting this system define you? Or are you ready to redefine this system? Think about that next time you're facing your own unbeatable odds. Thanks for exploring this story with us today.